Discover the incredible secret to a happy life. The touching journey of three brothers revealed. Jack stood on the front porch, staring into the horizon, where the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the endless fields. The echoes of laughter from their childhood seemed distant now, replaced by the daunting realities of adulthood. Dreams coursed through Jack's mind like a rushing river, his ambition burning fiercely. He envisioned himself in the urban tech world, a name that sparkled in neon lights, yet here he was, strapped to an unyielding farm that his hands yearned to escape. He clenched his fists, frustration bubbling beneath his skin, haunted by the grit of tradition that enclosed him. If only he could pry free from the shackles of this small town. Not far behind him, Mark paced back and forth, his brows knitted with worry as he fiddled with the soil from his shoes. The family farm was his lifeblood. He felt the weight of their father's dedication rest on his shoulders, and the thought of losing this sacred space filled him with dread. "We need to preserve what we have," Mark implored with a tense voice, but how could he express this urgency to Jack, who seemed so oblivious to the looming crisis? Every moment they spent together felt like a trap, tightening around his chest. Mark feared that the dreams Jack sought were pulling at the very threads of their family legacy, forsaking everything they held dear. Meanwhile, Sam lingered behind the pair, a specter in a world draped in stark contrasts. He watched them argue with tight lips and a feigned resolve. The brothers appeared on opposite ends, chasing diverging paths, while he teetered between the two, invisible in his longing to be seen. A part of him craved to break away from the shadows, to carve a place in their hardened hearts, but how? "What about my art?" He wanted to cry. Instead, he remained silent, a canvas waiting for a painter he didn't know how to attract. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days blurred into weeks as their father's health deteriorated. Each call from the hospital gnawed at their hopes, twisting the knife deeper into their strained relationship. As they rifled through their grandmother's belongings, they stumbled upon the forgotten art studio, dust-coated and invisible to time. The scents of oil paint and varnish mingled with regrets. Jack's eyes lit up with visions of transforming the studio into a trendy workspace for city dwellers, while Mark's face fell, wanting to preserve their mother's legacy. They had struck a raw nerve. In that fragile moment, the local businessman arrived, slick in his tailored suit, offering large sums of money for their inherited land, but his smile felt like a shackle. Jack felt the rush of greed. Could he sacrifice everything for the chance at his dreams? Meanwhile, Mark's steadfast resolve to protect their legacy clashed with Jack's ambition, and Sam felt more lost than ever. The weight of choices bore down on him. He could stay hidden in their shadows, or find courage amidst the chaos. A simmering tension rose, threatening to obliterate their bond forever. As the brothers prepared for the meeting with the businessmen, nerves twisted deep within Sam. In that claustrophobic space of loyalty, ambition, and the throbbing pulse of desire, the looming shadows of their fractured relationship threatened to unravel everything. Would they protect what they had fought for all along? Or would ambition drown them in desperation and regret? The divide threatened to swallow them whole, and Sam's heart raced as he clutched a brush, desperate to make his voice heard. Would this be their final stand? Just how far would they go to uphold their family ties? As dawn broke with a heavy mist hovering over the fields, Jack felt unease ripple through him. The meeting with the businessman loomed larger in his mind, pulsating like a heartbeat. He had immersed himself in thoughts of wealth and prestige recently, yet they clashed violently with the weight of family history bearing down on him. In tightening his grip on ambition, was he unwittingly unraveling the very fabric of what meant home? His heart wrestled with guilt and excitement, knowing that a moment of silence could spiral into a decision with irreversible consequences. He paced the porch, tracing the familiar wooden planks, hand trembling slightly. Memories of running through those fields clung to him, joy and freedom intermingled with the anxiety of impending choices. Across the yard, Mark emerged from the barn, his face etched with determination. He was still grappling with the deepest of fears, the loss of his father's legacy. He had spent countless nights sketching the farm's future, desperately dreaming of ways to modernize while still honoring their roots. What was the worth of dreams if they came at the cost of family ties? As he took a breath of the crisp morning air, he resolved to fight for what mattered, not just for himself, but for Jack as well. He believed there had to be a way forward that protected their heritage. Sam watched them both, a metaphorical chasm widening between Jack and Mark, craving validation he had been longing for. He picked up his brush, feeling the familiar coolness of the handle as it settled into his grip. Maybe if he painted their story, he could help them see that love could exist alongside ambition. Yet the echoes of doubt whispered in his mind. Did he have the right to step forward as an artist when his brothers were engaged in an essential battle? Could he shape their narrative without drowning under the weight of his own desires? Later that day, the three brothers gathered around the table. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Jack's finger tapped rapidly against the surface, each tap reflecting his anxiety. The businessman's smooth voice floated through his thoughts like a siren's call, promising liberation from the farm and the chance to ascend to the city. Everyone was at the table, but doubt lingered on the peripheral of their conversation. Mark cleared his throat, determination etched in his brows. We can't just let this opportunity slip away because we're afraid to evolve. We have to think long-term about the farm's legacy. His voice wavered slightly, pushing against the walls he built around his heart. What if we kept the family's spirit while making some courageous changes? Maybe the business could partner with something innovative. Jack frowned, torn between what he sought and what Mark championed. Partnerships can dilute what we started. Money isn't everything. We could lose the essence of who we are. He didn't want to wrestle with this dissonance, yet it thrummed louder than ever, demanding to be addressed. In the silence that followed, Sam raised his brush to the fading sunlight filtering through the window, its rays glinting off the bristles. What if we use this as a canvas for our dreams? The unexpected interruption hung in the air, charged with uncertainty. I mean, let us transform the art studio. It could blend farm elements with modern aesthetics. It isn't just a space for work, it can be an expression of who we are. This time, he felt the tremor of hope surge through him. Despite their skepticism, a flicker of curiosity sparked in his brother's eyes. What if Sam's idea could bridge the divide? What if creativity could unravel their conflicts and weave together their dreams? Jack, caught between ambitions, felt a hint of something deeper shifting within him. Outside, the first stars began to twinkle in the dusky sky, radiant and resolute. But the shadows of indecision deepened as Jack weighed the cost of attention against love. Would he allow fear to define this critical moment, or would he step into the uncertain light? That night, as they lay in their separate chambers, echoes of unresolved conversations danced through their minds, plotting the rhythm of their next move. There, beneath the fragmented parts of their dreams, an almost magnetic pulse pulled at Sam, a call to find his true voice, unleashing creativity where once there was silence. With tension simmering, the brothers now faced the prospect of an unexpected ally, their allegiance to each other depending on the decisions yet to be made. Sam drifted to sleep mulling over the paradox of loyalty and the courage to express oneself, the very struggles that entwined them all. As dawn approached, so did the chance for transformative choices. Would they embrace the harmony of dreams and legacy, or would they stand as pillars of division? The horizon glimmered with promise, and the brothers' fates balanced on the precipice of creation. The morning light spilled over the fields, transforming the dewy grass into a canvas of shimmering jewels. Jack rose early, his mind a tempest. As he stepped out, he felt the ground beneath him pulsate with the promise of the day ahead. After tossing and turning during the night, he now stood at the intersection of legacy and ambition, poised to confront his reality. He approached the barn where Mark was already tending to the animals. Mark's brow glistened with sweat, a testament to his unwavering commitment. "I've been thinking about your concerns, Jack," he said, catching Jack off guard. What if we approach this with caution? The partnership could be framed on our terms, not theirs. Jack hesitated. The air around him thickened with possibilities, yet he felt no elation. You think they'll be okay with that? Businessmen usually have a different agenda. His voice cracked, revealing more uncertainty than he intended. Look, Mark continued, wiping his hands on his jeans. You have an opportunity, a chance to leverage this deal into something that honors our father's legacy. It's not about giving up. It's about growing. Jack took a step back, distant echoes of their father's laughter and stern expressions colliding in his mind. His brother's voice hung over him, a soothing balm against his inherited fears. And what if that growth comes at a price? We're still part of this farm, Mark. It's us, not just the property. For a moment, both brothers were lost in thought, grappling with the weight of their family ties. Mark stood resolutely, his eyes straightforward yet soft. We can redefine our relationship with the land and each other. Jack returned to the house, his footsteps heavy with contemplation. It felt like standing at the edge of a precipice, the echoes of his brother's words challenging him to leap. He entered the dim art studio, the scent of paint and turpentine warming his soul. Sam's canvas stood waiting for the visions that had yet to be realized. He had been so engrossed in his doubts that he hadn't recognized the very fabric of creation that surrounded him. As Jack picked up a brush, he felt an unexpected surge of inspiration. The idea of intertwining their dreams could forge an expression of who they were, brothers united in purpose. What if he painted not just the farm but their evolving identities? Could they capture both legacy and innovation in a single piece? His hands wavered over the canvas, as conflicting emotions danced within him. The swirl of colors could symbolize their turbulent journey, an abstract representation of their family legacy juxtaposed against the stark allure of the unknown. Here lay his chance to confront his fears, to vocalize the ambitions he had long tucked away. That he stepped back, breathing deeply. Maybe it's not about choosing one over the other. It's about finding a way to merge what we have with what we want. An hour later, as he filled in brush strokes, Jack's mind began to unfurl. He envisioned revolutionizing the art studio, blending it with the essence of the farm. His brother's passions could resonate through their shared art, creating a sanctuary where cultures of old and new could harmonize. But would they embrace his vision? The thought chilled him. What if the fear that governed his decisions for too long remained a barrier to unity? He was poised to uncover the richness of familial collaboration, and yet each stroke of paint felt like a hesitant step into the unknown. As Jack put the final touches on the canvas, he heard footsteps nearby. It was Sam, his eyes wide with curiosity. What are you creating? It's our future, Jack replied, feeling the weight of his words resonate within him. He struggled to articulate the vision exploding in his chest, a vibrant blend of vulnerability and ambition. Sam leaned closer, studying the canvas. I think I understand. We can paint our story together. Jack nodded, but a new heaviness settled within him. He started to realize that opening his heart also meant facing his deepest fears of failure, the haunting possibility that their collaboration might crumble under the weight of their differences. As the sky turned from pale blue to a warm orange, illuminating the room, Jack felt the prick of determination. He would advocate for their dreams, regardless of the uncertainties ahead. Tomorrow, we need to talk about this. About what? Sam prompted, his voice vibrant with curiosity. Everything. The partnership. The farm. And what we can create as brothers. Unbeknownst to Jack, the decision looming over their dialogue would soon demand more than reconciliatory words. Would embracing a courageous yet uncertain future be the key to bridging their dreams? The air thickened, charged with unspoken revelations, as the brothers stood on the precipice of profound transformation. The sunrise broke over the horizon, stretching tendrils of golden light across the farmhouse, igniting determination within Jack. A restless night had revealed the long-buried fears he fought to keep hidden. Today was pivotal. It beckoned him to confront not just his dreams, but the trepidation that lurked beneath the surface. As he brewed coffee, the aroma wafting through the air grounded him. A familiar creak from the floorboard signaled Mark's arrival, his heavy footsteps echoing a silent pact of brotherhood. "You ready for your big talk with Sam?" Mark asked, leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. There was an encouraging tilt to his head, a hint of belief in Jack's potential. Jack answered with a nod, but his stomach churned, a tempest of anxiety swirling inside him. "I'm afraid my ideas might come off as overly ambitious. What if they don't resonate?" Mark raised an eyebrow, his posture softening. "What if they do? You've got fire in you, Jack. You carry Dad's spirit. It's time to let it shine through what you create." He appreciated Mark's support, but still felt the pull of uncertainty. They were all shaped by the legacy of their father, a reality he respected but now resisted. Could he forge a path that diverged from mere preservation to innovation? When Mark left to tend to the animals, Jack acknowledged the need to prepare for his meeting with Sam. Art had always been his compass, guiding him through life's storms, and today would be no different. Stepping into the art studio again, Jack stood before the canvas and drew in a deep breath, visualizing the fusion of ideas that danced in his mind. The colors were vivid, each hue a representation of emotion, struggle, and hope. But when he started painting, confidence faltered again. Did he have the right to dictate the future of their shared legacy? He picked up a palette knife, the blade's sharp edge reflecting the weight of his resolve. The act of sculpting with vibrant colors felt both immediate and daunting. He wasn't just attempting to create, but to tell a story, one that demanded vulnerability alongside ambition. Jack's thoughts spiraled back to the conversation with Sam last night. Would they embrace this new vision? Or would he be the lone advocate for change? The debate churned at him, a gnawing fear that clung to his decision-making process. What if he jeopardized their bond? He paused, contemplating his next stroke. It wasn't just about him anymore, it was about collaboration, allowing their differing perspectives to paint an unexpected narrative for the farm. By the time Sam arrived, Jack had almost transformed the canvas into a whirlwind of emotion and color. "Wow," Sam gasped, his eyes widening at the near-finished work. "What's the vision behind this?" Jack hesitated, battling with the weight of anticipation pouring from Sam's gaze. "It's an idea for us, for the future. Every detail signifies our journey together, fears, dreams, legacy. But we have to figure out how to blend our distinct identities into something cohesive." Sam looked deeply into the colors, capturing the intent behind each brushstroke. "Can we really do that?" His voice reflected a mixture of awe and trepidation. Jack stepped closer, unfolding his deeper thoughts. "Yes, but it'll require both of us to be fully open to what the partnership could become. We need to share our fears and ambitions, even if it means risk. Only then can we create something profoundly beautiful." The silence in the room stretched, thick with contemplation. Sam's expression darkened for a moment as uncertainty washed over him, but then a flicker of determination brightened his eyes. "All right, let us do it. But we also have to keep each other accountable. If it's going to be our legacy, we need to stand together, no holding back." Jack's heart surged with hope, yet shadows of doubt still flickered at the edges of his thoughts. Would they truly be able to create a partnership built on mutual respect and understanding? The quiet challenge of honest dialogue loomed over them like a storm front, primed to unleash revelations both painful and liberating. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Jack took a deep breath and finally spoke. "We should think about how this partnership will affect us personally. What if we aim to push each other to grow in ways we haven't imagined?" Sam nodded, reflecting the weight of that challenge in his eyes. Rooted in the old ways of their family, how could they escape the shadows cast by their father while venturing into uncharted territory? They stood, united yet uncertain, framed by the colors on the canvas that whispered secrets of their futures. The emotional threshold had shifted, but what lay ahead remained unpredictable. The evening chill crept in, sharpening their resolve. Jack could feel the winds of change beginning to swirl around them. What transformations awaited as they empowered each other in this partnership? The ground they prepared to tread felt new, responsibilities multiplied, and with them surged the anticipation of an unfolding narrative. The stakes were high, and it was time for Jack to unearth his hidden strengths. Would the canvas they painted together reflect triumph or turmoil? Jack's heart raced as they dove into the intricacies of their collaboration. Sam, traditionally grounded in their father's methodologies, was beginning to show cracks of enthusiasm that both thrilled and terrified Jack. Each idea they exchanged was a dance across precarious terrain. The canvas before them was not merely a collection of colors, it had morphed into a battleground of beliefs and intentions that in the following days, they met frequently, helping each other flesh out their visions while confronting the very essence of their partnership. They would sketch ideas by day and spend evenings over coffee, wrestling with their responsibilities and aspirations. Jack found himself articulating thoughts he'd once buried under layers of doubt. "I envision exhibitions that tell our story, that connect with people's experiences of growth and loss," he would assert, and Sam would nod, his eyes alight with possibilities but also fraught with hesitation. As the discussions deepened, so too did Jack's self-discovery. He began to question not just the future of their farm but also the narrative they wished to embrace. Drawing on the inspiration of their father's timeless spirit, Jack felt a push to redefine what legacy meant to him. Where once he succumbed to feelings of inadequacy, he now found strength in vulnerability, a realization that resonated deeply within. One evening, Jack stood before their evolving canvas and allowed his inner voice to surface. "Do you think we can really venture beyond what we know?" he asked Sam, who leaned against the wall, arms crossed and brow furrowed. "Honestly? It scares me," Sam admitted, his vulnerability painting a contrast to his usual bravado. "What if it fails? We risk everything built over years, our family's honor, even our relationship." Jack shifted, grappling with the tension in the air, finding it a bridge to his own fears. "True, but what if we succeed? What if it leads us to something incredible? Our old ways served us well, but maybe that's not enough anymore. We've got to find out, right?" Silence enveloped them, filled with unspoken questions. Sam's gaze shifted, seeking the shadows of the room, aware of the risk that loomed like a tempest over them. "Maybe I have to unlearn what I thought was safe," he whispered finally. The admission cracked open a doorway to deeper conversations, the veil of uncertainty slowly lifting between the brothers. As the weeks passed, Jack faced more than just the challenge of artistic ambition, he grappled with a profound personal metamorphosis. He discovered that art wasn't simply about creation, it was his vessel of communication, allowing every layer of emotional conflict to bleed into the narrative he painted. Each stroke was a decision, a chance to transform fear into expression, and he began to relish his role as a storyteller. Yet, a gnawing conflict lay at the seams of their burgeoning partnership, the inevitable confrontation of their inherited legacy. Jack would catch himself hesitating before speaking, fearful of a potential backlash. But the artistic forge they had ignited began to shimmer with transformative possibilities. With each meeting, their ideas intensified, illuminating paths once dismissed and rekindling dreams long relegated to obscurity. As they prepared for a pivotal weekend of showcasing their initial concepts to the community, Jack felt an exhilarating blend of dread and anticipation. Would their vision resonate? Or would the shadows of doubt consume their efforts? The day dawned, gray and foreboding, yet there was a spark of energy coursing through Jack. He understood now that success and failure were merely steps along a path of discovery. But as he stood before the assembled crowd, voice trembling with emotion, he realized that the stakes had never been clearer. "Today isn't just about showing you our work, it's about sharing our journey. We want to inspire and connect. This is the start of something deep," he proclaimed, feeling the weight of his ambition pulsing boldly in his chest. In that moment, he saw the potential for triumph blooming within the delicate balance of uncertainty. Yet, the revelation struck him with force, a test awaited, one that would either solidify their commitment to transformation or cast them back into old shadows. As the audience murmured, Jack felt the breath hitch in his throat. Could he summon the courage to face what lay beyond this pivotal moment? The future loomed like a shifting horizon, tantalizing and terrifying, ready to unveil what lay on the other side of fear. Would this be their ascent or their descent? The applause rang in Jack's ears, a cacophony that felt both affirming and dissonant. As he stepped down from the makeshift podium, exhilaration and trepidation clashed within him. Each clap had resonated like bated breath, signaling that their ideas might have ignited something within their audience. But Jack was aware he was just at the precipice of a far deeper journey, one that extended far beyond that moment. Back in their improvised studio, surrounded by the canvases that mirrored their emotions, Jack faced Sam, who was still absorbing the reactions fluctuating around them. People responded. "I think they felt something," Sam said, yet his voice bore hints of uncertainty. Jack recognized it as the same uncertainty that he himself harbored. "Yeah, but we need to ask ourselves what's next," Jack replied, his mind racing ahead. "We can't just bask in today's applause, we need to dig deeper. What do we really want to convey?" Sam's brow furrowed deeper, and Jack could sense the weight of legacy pressing on him again. What if we chase this too far? What if the deeper we go, the less people understand us? Sam's skepticism was like a tether that pulled Jack back into the depths of their familial expectations. "Or, Sam," Jack countered, pulsating with fervor, "what if that misunderstanding is exactly what we need to overcome? Maybe that's the answer. The very essence of our story is about moving past those expectations, embracing the unknown." Jack took a moment to reflect on the words he had just spoken. He was no longer just arguing for the sake of dialogue, he was tapping into a deep realization. Thoughts swirled. What if their art reflected not just their aesthetics but also their shared humanity, struggles, and desires for authenticity? "It's about evolving, right?" Jack continued, finding a rhythm in his advocacy for growth. "We aren't just creating art, we're crafting a path. If we shy away now, we deny people the chance to engage with those contradictions." Sam shifted, perhaps feeling the truth ripple through him. "So, how do we do that?" "We need to take a risk with our next piece, then." "Yes," Jack nodded, frustration and hope intertwining. "We invite vulnerability into our work. Let us not shy away from our struggles, our fears. We should show them the raw and the unfiltered." Days turned into a blur as the brothers set to creating, uncovering layers that neither had expected. As Jack painted, he found images emerging that challenged the very fears he had been grappling with. Each stroke of paint was a surge of bravery, articulating the pressures of expectation mingled with self-discovery. Sam worked diligently, more engaged than ever, his artistic vision morphing and melding with Jack's as they navigated the interplay of hope and despair, but the culmination of their efforts was not without friction. One evening, Sam burst out, "How do we balance this? What if our honesty repels instead of invites? Maybe this impulse of yours is reckless." Jack felt that familiar stir of panic within him, a reflection of their childhood clashing over their father's traditional practices, yet there was a purpose behind that panic now. "Every masterpiece is born from chaos, Sam. We have to trust ourselves," he retorted, feeling a crack in their dynamic surface. A pregnant silence hung between them, saturated with the weight of their confrontation. Jack realized that this wasn't just about overcoming their fears, it was a call to deepen their bond as brothers and collaborators. His heart raced with the undeniable truth that growth often came at the price of discomfort. In a moment of revelation, Jack leaned back, breathing deeply as he articulated his epiphany. "Sam, this is our chance to break free. Are we ready to transform our doubts into our driving force, to redefine what our legacy means?" The room pulsed with tension as Sam met Jack's gaze. Just then, a flash of determination ignited in Sam's eyes, signaling the fracturing of apprehension. "Let us do it then. Let us unearth our truths," he said. The space filled with the energy that only unyielding intent could create. Yet even as they built toward revelation, Jack sensed an impending storm. Unveiling those truths might attract unexpected challenges, perhaps even individuals who would threaten the very essence of their newly forged journey. The challenge was on the horizon, ready to test their bond and commitment like never before. As they worked late into the night, Jack felt a creeping anticipation beneath everything they were building. The moment of truth was brewing, Soon they would have to confront the very forces that had shackled their creativity for years. Would they stand firm, or would the shadows of their past creep back in to reclaim what they had gained? As the sun began to set, its golden rays cast long shadows across the studio, transforming the stark white walls into a vibrant canvas of colors reflecting Jack and Sam's growing excitement and anxiety. The air buzzed with a sense of urgency, an undercurrent of possibility that both thrilled and terrified Jack. With the canvases displaying their evolving narratives, Jack felt a renewed purpose igniting within him. Each brushstroke was not merely a mark of color but a declaration, a rebellion against the conventional paths they had been taught to follow. Yet doubt still lingered at the edges of his consciousness like an unwanted guest refusing to leave. Was vulnerability truly the path forward, or merely another form of artistic self-indulgence? "Sam, come here," Jack called, waving his brother over, gesturing to the chaotic swirl of colors he had just created. "What do you think? Does this evoke the struggle we've been talking about?" Sam tilted his head, studying the canvas closely. "It's powerful," he replied, his voice tinged with admiration. "But it's also jarring. Will people see the connection? And does that matter?" Jack asked, challenging what he had long accepted. "If it speaks to us, that must count for something, right? Art is about evocation, not approval." Sam's expression shifted, caught between acknowledgement and apprehension. "I suppose, but I don't want to alienate anyone." Jack could feel the churning anxiety flaring up within Sam, almost drowning him. "But we're not here to please everyone. That's not our goal anymore. Our truth may feel foreign to some, but that doesn't diminish its value." As Sam stepped back, Jack watched as the uncertainty swirled like paint on a palette, mixed with flashes of inspiration. He had long admired Sam's ability to refine raw emotion, but the transition from familiarity to vulnerability was challenging. It was essential to infuse authenticity into their work, but the fear of rejection loomed large. With renewed determination, Jack turned to the easel. "Let us set the stakes higher. What if we included our childhood memories? Our fears about not living up to expectations?" Sam hesitated, his brow knitted in thought. "Those are deeply personal. What if our family sees? We embrace that risk," Jack said fiercely. "Our journey must reflect our truest selves, regardless of how it's received. It's time we take ownership of our narrative." In that moment, clarity washed over Jack like a refreshing tide. They weren't just forging a new artistic path, they were confronting long-standing beliefs that had dictated their lives. He directed his energy toward the canvas, his hands moving with a rhythm dictated by emotion, as memories poured forth into every detail. He poured his heart into every color, every line a therapeutic release that began to morph into something more profound. As night descended and the studio grew darker, Jack could see the doubt slowly dissipating from Sam's features, replaced with a glimmer of resolve. "All right," Sam finally said, almost whispering. "Let us do it. Let us reveal our darkness to find the light." Jack felt an electrifying spark of hope. It wasn't just the art they created that mattered anymore, it was the revival of their resilience. Each brushstroke now bore the weight of their shared history, conflicting desires, and urgent truths that had remained unspoken for far too long. Yet, as they delved deeper into these explorations, Jack couldn't shake the unease lurking just beneath the surface. The thought of how their family, especially their father, might react created a knot in his stomach. Would they still be accepted, or would their vulnerabilities be weaponized against them? The sheer intensity of emotion propelled Jack forward, and he began to outline a piece, a chaotic blend of colors that represented not only their frustrations but their potential growth. What would this reveal about who they were? What conversations would this ignite? Jack stopped, suddenly aware that this creation might be the catalyst that propelled them into uncharted territory. They were on the brink of something monumental, something that could unravel everything they had ever known about themselves. As the first strokes of dawn illuminated their canvases, Jack caught sight of the turmoil mirrored in Sam's eyes. "We need to be ready for what might come after this," he murmured, feeling the gravity of the impending revelation weigh heavily on them both. "Then let us prepare," Sam replied with newfound determination. But we can't shy away from the truth we've made it this far. Yet, even as they fortified their resolve, Jack felt an unease creeping back. A storm was on the horizon, filled with threats from both outside and within. What would it mean for their journey, for their bond as they unearthed their truths? The anticipation of this revelation charged the air around them, leaving no way to escape the reality that awaited them. Would they be brave enough to face it head-on? Or would their past come crashing in, threatening to dismantle everything they had fought to create? As the dawn light crept closer, Jack's hands trembled slightly, the canvas before him now a battlefield of his innermost struggles and aspirations. The vibrant swirls of color whispered stories of untold fears, hopes, and shattered expectations, constructing a fragile bridge between his childhood and the uncertain horizon of adulthood. Each stroke asked for more from him, demanding that he dive deeper into the murky waters of his past. That he paused, staring into the chaotic masterpiece evolving under his fingertips. The blending colors mirrored the complexities of his emotions, his desire to break free from the suffocating narratives that had dictated his life narrative for so long. Yet, even now, he grappled with the weight of familial expectations that loomed like a shadow over every decision he made. What if they don't understand? He murmured, the fear crackling in the air like static electricity. Then we show them, Sam replied, his voice steady. He had moved to stand beside Jack, scanning the vibrant chaos they had both poured their souls into. Our mom always says art's meant to provoke thought, not acceptance. Jack nodded, feeling the flicker of determination ignite within him. But what if the truth is too raw? Too real? What if it pushes them away instead of bringing them closer? Sam placed a hand on Jack's shoulder, grounding him. Maybe that's the risk we need to take. We can't continue stifling what we feel just because it might make someone uncomfortable. They need to see us for who we are, not just who we're expected to be. The conviction in Sam's voice was infectious, coaxing Jack from the depths of his self-doubt. They had both spent years molding themselves into acceptable shapes, desperate to win the approval of their father. Yet Jack's artistic journey had begun to carve out a different path, one filled with authenticity, bravery, and honesty. With a renewed sense of purpose, Jack picked up his brush and allowed the surge of emotions to guide him. Memories flooded back, nights filled with laughter, quiet moments of conflict, times when joy and pain intertwined in their family's tapestry. Each moment, each memory transformed into vivid colors, creating an emotional landscape that spoke of resilience, not just fragility, but with every stroke, doubt gnawed at him again. Would it be worth it to risk his family's approval for the sake of truth? Was it right to shine a light on the areas best cloaked in darkness? The questions spiraled, circling like vultures, waiting to cast shadows on his newfound resolve. Are we ready? He finally asked, meeting Sam's gaze. Ready to lay it all out there? Sam looked contemplative for a moment, clearly wrestling with similar fears. What choice do we have? We either make this a genuine expression of who we are, flaws and all, or just paint a pretty picture. Jack sucked in a breath, contemplating his next move. The revelation they were about to initiate wasn't just about art, it was a confrontation with their shared past and the painful legacy of unspoken truths that had chained them down. What if their honesty didn't resonate? What if it fractured their family instead of strengthening their bond? But then a thought clawed its way to the surface, clear and resolute. Worse than losing their acceptance would be losing ourselves in the process. We've already spent enough time hiding. As the sun finally broke free from the horizon, bathing the studio in a soft golden light, Jack felt a surge of strength filling his veins. He pushed himself to imagine a future where they could navigate through the messiness of life openly, unreservedly, and authentically, unfurling their wings wide enough to be accepted in their entirety. It's time, Jack whispered, the words almost a prayer, a spell, a declaration. As they began to paint with fervor, he felt a shiver run through him, not from fear, but from the excitement of transformation. The brush glided over the canvas, each stroke liberating them from the binds of their past, yet, buried deep within Jack's mind was the undeniable question, what would happen when the outside world caught wind of their truths? As exhilarating as their artistic journey felt, he couldn't shake the feeling that monumental challenges still lay ahead. Would their courage stand strong against the storm that would inevitably arise, or would the tides of disapproval crash down, sending them tumbling back into the shadows? The brush paused mid-stroke, and in that moment of tension, Jack realized this was only the beginning of the unraveling that awaited them. As he held his breath, confronted by the depth of what they were about to unveil, he wondered if they were truly prepared for the revelations and the possible fallout that could follow. The moment hung in the air like a fragile thread, ready to snap at the slightest touch. Jack's heart thudded in rhythm with the brush against the canvas, a cadence that dictated the flow of his thoughts. Each stroke tore through layers of pretense, exposing a raw honesty that made his skin prickle with both dread and exhilaration. "Keep going," Sam encouraged. The bright colors sprawled unevenly, reflecting not just their shared experiences but also the weight of family expectations that they had carried for too long. "This is it. This is who we are. Unfiltered." But as Jack painted, shadows of doubt crept in. The interplay of color wasn't just a battle with pigments, it mirrored his persistent struggle against the familial narrative. He focused on a vibrant blue, reminiscent of childhood summers spent laughing under the sun, then blended it with a murky gray, the color of that one argument that had echoed through their home for years. How could he communicate the beauty in his vulnerability without ruining what he had known for so long? "Are you afraid?" Sam's question shattered Jack's reverie. It wasn't merely a question about the art, it was a mirror reflecting their internal struggles. "No. Maybe," Jack muttered, refusing to meet Sam's steady gaze. "What if they see it as a failure? What if this becomes a turning point not just for us but for them?" His mind whirred as he grappled with the enormity of his next decision. This painting was a turning point, but it was also a risk that could unveil not just their truths but the limits of their family's acceptance. Bravo for courage was one thing, but was it truly commendable if it jeopardized his relationship with those he loved? "Painting doesn't fail, Jack. It reveals." Sam paused, considering his words. "We can't hide the ugly parts if we want the beauty to shine through. And it might be uncomfortable, but discomfort is part of growth, isn't it?" Jack forced himself to breathe through the tension, feeling a swell of inspiration rise against the nagging tides of fear. Sam was right, the painful moments deserved their space within this artistic space. With renewed resolve, he flung vibrant strokes across the canvas, imagining the comforting arms of their childhood memories intertwined with the bitter edge of lost words and withheld truths. With each stroke, the advantages of vulnerability felt clearer, displacing the shadows of fear momentarily. He envisioned the scene becoming more than just paint on a surface but a testament to their resilience. Would this painting be a quiet scream against conformity? Or a love letter to their souls, daring enough to confront the very foundations of their upbringing? As thought spiraled into action, clarity struck. This was undoubtedly about them, but it was also an invitation to their family. An invitation to witness, to confront, and potentially to reshape the narrative that bound them. Yet, Jack's heart still raced with the uncertainty of what such a bold expose might bring. Would his parents even recognize their struggle in their artwork, or would they only see the flaws? "Are we ready to show this?" Jack's voice quivered as he ventured the question that lingered unspoken. The vulnerable truth was daunting, almost overwhelming. Sam studied the canvas, the swirling colors transmuting into an expressive language that spoke louder than words. "This isn't a question of readiness," he replied, his tone stern yet compassionate. "It's about authenticity. And if they can't see it for what it is, then maybe we've been wearing masks for too long." Jack leaned into that sentiment, the growing conviction slipping into his bones, pushing aside the lingering apprehension. This was not merely an exhibition of art but an exploration of identity, an assertion of who they were, aimed directly at those who loved them, yet expected them to be different. "Then let us do it," Jack affirmed, the weight of his resolve solidifying. "Let us face it all, together." As the brush danced across the canvas, a dangerous excitement simmered beneath the surface of his thoughts. With each stroke, they laid bare their lives, transformations, and revelations, crafting a visceral awakening. But as the morning light permeated through the studio windows, Jack sensed the approaching storm, the potential eruption of familial conflict on the horizon. What would their family truly think when the first glances were exchanged? Would they resist, reject, or recognize the beauty in the chaos of their truths? As Jack painted furiously, he felt the heaviness in his chest surge once again, and amid this fervor, he realized the heaviest truths weren't merely on the canvas. They loomed around, the looming challenge of confronting the ghosts of their past in an unforgiving reality, waiting for them just beyond those sacred walls of paint and vulnerability. Embracing the edges of uncertainty, Jack wondered, how much of himself was he prepared to uncover, and at what cost would authenticity come? Would it be enough to bristle the chains that had held him captive for so long? The answers would come, he knew. The question now was, were they ready to confront them? Jack stood before the sprawling canvas, gazing at a tumult of colors that bore witness to their journey, a potent amalgamation of dreams, fears, and aspirations intertwined. This canvas was not merely an artwork, it encapsulated every struggle, every intimate moment he and his brothers had navigated together, and the brutal honesty they had dared to embrace. With every stroke, he felt history unfurl, revealing the voices of their childhood and the reluctant acceptance of their truths. The recent unveiling of their collaborative art piece had garnered attention and unexpected reception that held the weight of both triumph and deep-seated apprehension. The local community responded positively, sparking conversations that Jack hardly dared to anticipate. Attendees approached him, sharing stories of their own struggles with legacy and self-expression, forging connections that transcended mere admiration for the art itself. Jack almost couldn't comprehend the power of what they had created, a medium through which vulnerability connected them all, yet, amidst this newfound recognition, the weight of familial expectation still loomed like a shadow. Jack understood deep down that a critical confrontation awaited. Today, he intended to share this evolution with his family, to reveal the heart of what they had come to understand, not merely his dreams in isolation, but as part of an intricate familial tapestry. Arriving at the farmhouse, Jack felt both anticipation and trepidation wash over him. Mark and Sam awaited him at the kitchen table, their faces etched with curiosity and concern, fellow travelers ready to confront this pivotal moment together. "You ready?" Mark asked, eyebrows raised in encouragement. "Yeah. I think so," Jack replied, his heart fluttering. "It's time we talk about what we've created, and more than just the art. It's about us, who we've become through this." Seated across the table piled high with sketches and their latest drafts, Sam leaned in closer, keenly aware of the weight of their shared moment. "No matter how it goes, we face it together," he vowed, solidifying the bond that carried them through years of turmoil. Taking a deep breath, Jack pulled out the vibrant pieces they had crafted, canvases that illustrated not only their growth but also the pieces of their past they so often buried. "This art goes beyond paint," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. "It's intertwined with our history, our parents, our childhood fears, and the expectations that have held us captive. We've used it to unearth who we are." As he unraveled the narrative behind the work, he dared to hope his family would lean in to hear them, to resonate with the honesty they depicted. Each piece represented the journey they'd undertaken, the blend of dreams held in conflict while staying connected to their roots. With fingers trembling, he revealed the personal stories imbued in the art, allowing every fragmented color to symbolize a facet of their shared life. Mark watched him, eyes widening as he began to understand. "It's beautiful, Jack," he said softly, an undertone of pride attached to every syllable. "I didn't think I could take this step without jeopardizing us," Jack admitted, a wave of vulnerability lapping over him, yet grounding him in reality. "But if we confront these fears, I believe it transforms us, rather than breaking us apart." Sam nodded, the realization dawning on him that their truths, once rendered vulnerable on the canvas, had evolved into a form of shield against the suffocating weight of expectation. "What if Mom and Dad don't see it? What if it causes conflict?" he queried, uncertainty swirling in his voice. "Then we still stand together, even if it doesn't go as we hope," Jack insisted. "This is about acceptance, about showing that we can embrace who we are, together, fragile but resilient." As tension crackled in the air, their mother entered the room, her eyes immediately drawn to the saturated colors that captured the essence of her boys' journeys. "What is going on here?" she asked, her tone laced with curiosity mixed with unease. "Mom, we want to show you something," Jack said, his pulse quickening as he gestured toward the canvases. As they shared their stories with her, he saw something shift in her expression, a flicker of understanding that held the promise of acceptance. Slowly, her gaze shifted from canvas to canvas as she absorbed the intricate tales they had woven together. "You've poured your hearts into this," she whispered, her voice quavering. "Each piece is a reflection of your struggles, your desires. I never realized how much you all are grappling with." "Yes, that's the point," Jack replied, feeling a surge of strength swell inside him. "We are evolving, and this is who we are, a part of our legacy that extends beyond fear and silence." In that moment, he sensed a deep connection forming, a bridge spanning the distance between expectation and acceptance. Their mother placed her hands over her heart, emotion clouding her eyes as she embraced their vulnerability. "Thank you for sharing this with me," she said, voice thick with gratitude. "I'm proud of you for revealing not just the art, but the essence of yourselves. You all have the courage to redefine your legacy." The room filled with warmth, a sigh of relief anchoring the heavy weight of anxiety that had loomed since their childhood. Jack exchanged looks with Mark and Sam, feeling the silent affirmation ripple between them. They had not only confronted their past, they had chosen to transform it into a dazzling future built on acceptance, creativity, and love. As they spent the next hours discussing, planning, and dreaming about what was to come, Jack felt an unwavering sense of accomplishment coursing through his veins. They had crafted a new foundation, a tapestry of authenticity that blended their individualities into a harmonious legacy, one ripe with potential. Jack emerged from that day deeply satisfied, the contours of their family narrative finally crystallizing before him. This marked a profound achievement. No longer shackled by fears or expectations, he stood as an individual capable of voicing his dreams without compromise. He was ready to embrace his identity, not walled off from his brothers but woven together with them, a triumphant testament to the power of authenticity. If you've been inspired by this transformative journey, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to our channel to witness more exclusive emotional stories unfold. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure these powerful tales reach those who need them most. Comment your reactions and theories about Jack, Mark, and Sam's journey, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to lift up the legacy of personal growth. Join our community today.